What's up everyone? My name is Marie, welcome to my channel, and welcome to another speed build. So for today's video, I have an exciting build. I'm really excited to share this one. You better grab a snack and something to drink because it is a very long video, which I'm kind of surprised by. I honestly didn't think that this speed build would be this long, but it is well over 40 minutes long, even though it's just a base game build. So I will say I'm kind of surprised. I knew that this build took me a little while to build it because it's really large, but also it is just base game. So usually just base game builds aren't as long when it comes to the speed build because there's just not as many things to build with, if that makes sense, literally. So usually those speed builds are a little shorter. This one is not. It is a big build though, so it kind of does make sense. And yeah, you could probably already tell by the thumbnail and the title of this video, but I actually built a brand new mansion for the Landgraabs using only base game in my hypothetical base game save file that I've been working on for a very long time that somehow just never ends up being finished because I just don't put enough time and effort into it, even though I'm very passionate about it. So I don't know, hopefully one day this base game save file will be done and I will be able to release it for everyone to enjoy. But yeah, it is kind of difficult for me to actually finish it, which is a whole nother thing, which I will get into in a little bit. But yeah, first about this build. So this is for the Landgraabs, as I already explained. We all know, I was gonna say no one loved the Landgraabs. We don't love the Landgraabs. We know them, but we do not love them. As a matter of fact, I feel like most of us hate them, especially Nancy. Jeffrey, I guess, is an okay guy. We do like Jeffrey Landgraab for the most part. Nancy not so much. But yeah, I've been wanting to build them a new house for so long. And then a few months ago, actually, we did get upgraded or updated, or basically just new builds for some of the townies, which is very exciting, and also a new house for the Landgraabs. So EA actually did come out with a brand new house for the Landgraabs that is just base game, which is really pretty. I really like that build. But still, so for a little while there, it's okay, maybe for my base game save file, I can just skip over those townie houses that were made over or done over by EA, and I can just use those because they're so good. I genuinely really like them. But then I sat and think about it for a while and I was like, no, I've been wanting to do a new house for the Landgraabs for so long. I still kind of want to do it. So I sat down to do it anyway. I really like how this house came together, I will say that. But yeah, it did take me a minute to build this. I had so much fun with it though. I think it turned out really fun. It is definitely a mansion, it's big, but it's not too big where gameplay is impossible and Sims will get lost all the time. I feel like size-wise, it is basically it's nice, it's good, it's large, it's way larger than it needs to be for just 3 Sims living in this house. But also, it is not too overwhelmingly large where gameplay is just annoying. I feel like I haven't actually sat down to do any gameplay in this house, but I feel like I've done enough gameplay in my day to sort of know when houses are too big or too difficult to route around. So I really tried to keep that in mind for this one, and I think it turned out really cool. I really like how this one came together. I did have a picture that I found on Pinterest of a house that I really liked, and that was my inspiration picture for this one. I didn't necessarily copy it over, but I was very inspired by it, mostly for the curb appeal, the facade of the house. It doesn't look the same, but there are some elements. I'll see if I can try to remember to put the picture in the video. I sometimes say that and then I just always forget and then I never do it, but I'll really try to remember to put it in the video this time. So you can kind of tell that I definitely took some inspiration from it. I didn't copy it over, but it was definitely helping me to get started on these builds. It's usually with these contemporary houses that I just always have this I don't know, I'm always a little scared to get started on them because I feel like they're so overwhelming to me, especially when it needs to be this big. I just never know how or where to start with these contemporary boxy houses that are basically just a bunch of squares, a bunch of bump outs put together. But once I get started and once I'm in the zone, I always have so much fun with these boxy types of houses. I feel like building these types of houses in The Sims 4, it just feels like you're molding clay, if that makes sense. Like I just add bump outs upon bump outs and I make them bigger or smaller and I like try to see what works, or maybe this one needs to be a little wider or a little longer, you know, like it's so much fun for me to play with, especially when you have a fun base shape that you're excited about and then you can just like kind of build on to that, if that makes sense. And I just always really enjoy it. So as much as I'm intimidated by these contemporary boxy houses to get started, once I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone and I really like to build them. So needless to say, I had a lot of fun with this house as well. And also every time I do this with just base game, I realize how much I enjoy this particular type of house for just base game builds. I really like it. I do like my like typical blue suburban or green suburban little, you know, suburban base game houses. I do really like building those too. And I feel like we have a lot of iconic Sims 4 base game stuff that is just really fun to work with and just like a really fun style to sort of embrace when you're just using the base game. But I always really like this particular type of house as well. I've done a house that is, well, not similar to this, but it is the same style, a contemporary modern, for the Spencer Kim Lewis family in Willow Creek. And I really enjoyed that one as well. That one was also intimidating because that one was also large. It's definitely, well, not necessarily a mansion, but it's a, like it's, I would call it a villa, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know. How would you describe, what's the difference between a mansion and a villa? I don't know. If you know this, let me know. I am by no means an architect. I don't know these types of things, but if you know if there's like an actual difference in the definition of a villa versus a mansion, let me know. I could probably just Google it, you know, but still. So yeah, I would call this more of like a mansion. I guess it's more of like a vibe thing for me personally. And here, as you can see, I was trying to sort of map out the backyard. I wasn't sure what to do with this. I did want there to be like fenced in, or like with half walls, I guess, not necessarily with fences, but like planter boxes types of areas. I also wanted there to be like planted grass. I do feel like they would spend a small fortune on garden maintenance. They have a lot of like grass and plants. It's not as overgrown as I would normally go because I feel like in the desert that just doesn't make any sense, especially in this area. I wanted everything to look very intentional and very planted because nothing really grows here. I mean, there's definitely some like shrubs and like little flowers around in the surrounding area, as you can see. So I was kind of going off of that, but for the most part, I wanted all my landscaping to look very intentional and just very much planted and like well maintained. So that's sort of what I was going for. And here I was trying to figure out how to make it blend into the front of the lot and like the surrounding areas next to it. For a while, I did cut out that footage, but for a while I was messing around with those planters from Debug. You can see those grass planters in the world sort of like next to this lot. And we have similar ones in the Debug menu that you can just use. And I was trying to make those work, but it just wasn't really working out for me. So I decided to just sort of draw with terrain paint with grass and just line it with rocks. And I feel like that really worked out for this one. I really like how it came together. It feels very continuous when you look at the surrounding areas. So that's what I ended up doing. We have a bunch of trees sort of like in little planters as well, which I thought was really cute. And I used a bunch of those taller trees as well to sort of line the build, but it is by no means very overgrown or anything. So yeah, it looks very, I guess, intentional and just expensive. You know, I wanted everything for this house to look very expensive. We also have that fountain at the front of the house. I did change that one a little bit later on. I think I at first added those like fish little water fountains, but they were not modern enough. They were too like, I guess, classical. Is that a word that I could use to describe those? They were a little bit too classical looking in my opinion. It didn't really fit the vibe. So I did get rid of those later, but we did keep the fountain. So that's cool. I wanted there to be some like water features and stuff. And then of course we have a huge pool in the back. The original Landgraab house didn't have a pool because when the Sims 4 first launched, we didn't have pools in the base game. It's so wild to think about that. We didn't have pools in the Sims 4 base game when it first came out in 2014, it was, I think. That's crazy. We also didn't have toddlers, I don't think. which is also wild to think about, especially when it comes to the land grabs. I don't know what it is, but every time I play in a save file where, you know, the land grabs are always there because they're always part of a whatever save file you start with, they always end up adopting at least 2 or 3 toddlers. It's so wild. It's just the Landgraab family for me in my save files. I don't know what it is, but it happens all the time. In my base game save file, it's just like the regular Landgraabs. I do want to give them a makeover still, so I think that would be kind of fun actually. Maybe I could turn that into a video. I don't know. Would that be fun? That would be so random to do Cass Create a Sim videos. I don't think I've ever done a Create a Sim video other than a few years ago when I made my boyfriend in Cass together with him, I think. I don't really remember this. This has been a minute, but that was a random video, but I think that would be sort of fun to do. I definitely do want to give them a makeover for the potential hypothetical save file that at some point is going to come out, hopefully. But it's so difficult because obviously when I do builds, I record it, and I also do it for, when I build, it's for videos, it's on stream, usually both. So when you're working on a very specific save file, such as this one, which is a base game only save file, when you're not making content, I feel like I could definitely dedicate the time and I could just be like, okay, this for the entire month of May or whatever month it may be, I'm gonna sit down and do only base game builds so that my save file will be done towards the end of May, towards the end of that specific month. But when you're actually creating content with it, that would mean that for the entire month, I would only have base game builds to upload to YouTube or to work on stream. And that is just like not fun for people to watch, I don't think. Even though maybe I could like make a thing out of it and do like a dedicated base game only month where I just do base game builds, and then at the end of it as an end result we'll have a save file. Maybe, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that could be sort of fun. I don't know, that could actually be kind of fun. That I might have just given myself an idea, but let me know if that would be something. If you watch speed builds regularly, or if you watch my channel specifically regularly, would that be something that would bore you? Or would that be something that you would kind of enjoy if I were to do like 4 weeks of just base game builds? I don't know, I only upload like twice a week, so it wouldn't even be that many videos, but you know what I mean, like maybe I could do a couple extra videos. I'm not exactly sure. I feel like maybe I could be onto something here. I need to sit down and plan this a little bit better, but I do think it'd be fun to at some point have this save file, this base game save file be done, because I think it would be a lot of fun for people to use it, you know? I think it would just be really, really fun, and I definitely do have some really fun builds and families in it already, but what gets me stuck is Newcrest, because Newcrest is obviously entirely empty, and that's a lot of builds to do, and there is a couple of really big lots there too. I did already fill up one of the bigger lots, and that one is like a large colonial base game family home, which is really cool, but then there's like 2 or 3 more lots that are huge, and then I have to fill up with something. I could also just be cheeky about it and do like a park or something for one of the bigger lots. I feel like that would be kind of good as well. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it'd be fun to have this base game save file be done at some point in the near future. I can't make any promises, but you know, it would be fun. But in the meantime, you can see that I'm still working on the exterior for this one. I figured out how to do the garden, like the front yard, the backyard. Obviously the tile that I'm using is not the final tile that I used because this is just a boring gray concrete, but I was just using that to map everything out, and I do feel like that really worked out. For the color scheme of the exterior, I knew from the get-go that I wanted this house to be like a nice white plaster or like a white stucco, so that's what I ended up doing. But then I did really want to put some accents on it as well, and I thought green was a fun color to combine it with, so I chose this green base game. Obviously everything is base game, but that stone that is sort of like mid-century looking, and I think that's really pretty. I sort of continued this exact color scheme on the interior as well. I made everything very, very white. And then we have a dark green wallpaper for most areas in this house, not for the bedrooms, but for the main living room, the kitchen and stuff. So yeah, that's sort of the main color scheme, is white and green for the interior as well as the exterior. And I think that turned out really, really pretty. And I also use some like terracotta colors for accents. You can see that I use like a terracotta colored tile for the balconies and whatnot, but also here for the stone like out front and in the backyard. So yeah, just to add a little bit of color in, a little bit of warmth, I guess, that sort of blends into the surrounding area. Since we're in the desert, everything is very yellow, orange, green also in some areas here. So yeah, that's sort of what I was trying to continue for the color scheme in this house as well, to sort of make it blend in with the world nicely. And then for the floor plan of this house, I started with the upstairs floor plan because I couldn't figure out the ground floor for the life of me. That was just a little bit too intimidating, so I just started with the upstairs and where the staircase would make sense for the upstairs floor plan, and then I would go off of my staircase placement as sort of like a starter point for my floor plan on the ground floor. And that actually did end up really working out for me, so that was a good way to go about it. So on the second floor, we only have 3 bedrooms in this house, which is insane. This house is huge. It could easily have more bedrooms, but I sort of wanted it to be that way. You know, like the Landgraabs only live in this house with just the 3 of them, and they have no business living in a house that is this gigantic. Like, they really don't need it. And I sort of really wanted it to feel that way, if that makes any sense. So we only have 3 bedrooms on the second floor. They each have en-suites though, so that is really, really nice and luxurious. There's no hall bath on the second floor. There's just en-suites. There's also an office on the second floor as well, which you could potentially turn into another bedroom. It is a little smaller than the rest though, and it doesn't have an ensuite either. So that would really feel like it wouldn't have the same vibe as the other bedrooms, which I guess it's fine. But it could be a really cute nursery. So yeah, there's that. And I wanted all the bedrooms to be really spacious, especially the main bedroom. I wanted that one to feel very large. I did end up swapping around, well, not necessarily changing the floor plan when I was decorating it, but I did figure out a way to sort of have a hallway that sort of leads you through a walk-in wardrobe into the ensuite bathroom. I figured out a way to do that for the main bedroom, which actually was perfect for it. So that's what I did. And then, like I said, the other 2 bedrooms also have en-suites. And one of them is obviously decorated for Malcolm Landgraab, which is their teenage son. And then they have an extra bedroom, which in the past obviously belonged to Johnny Zest, which was then later on, he was later on disowned by the family. And I do feel like Nancy would get rid of any evidence that Johnny Zest was ever in this house or part of the family for that matter. So for a while, I was thinking of actually decorating the other bedroom, the 3rd bedroom, for Johnny Zest and just have it look like Johnny Zest used to live here. But then I was like, no, Nancy would definitely get rid of all the evidence of him being part of this family. So she would turn that bedroom into a nice extra guest like bedroom as soon as he had moved out. So I feel like that's what she did, and that's what I ended up doing for that bedroom. And then downstairs, we just have all the downstairs things, I guess. We have a kitchen, living, dining room. It's all sort of in one open floor plan. I say sort of. It is one big open floor plan. And then on the other side of the house, so that's what we have on the left side of the house when you enter it. And then on the right side of the house, I could have easily put some extra bedrooms, maybe like an extra office, but that's not what I ended up doing. I ended up doing a indoor gym / pool, and then also a home cinema. So yeah, it's very extravagant, and perfect for parties, I will say. So yeah, we have an indoor pool with a gym attached to it, or sort of like in the same room. And then there is a Jack and Jill bathroom actually that also has access to the the home cinema in this house, which is crazy. I don't actually know if the Landgraabs are particularly movie watchers. Like, do they enjoy movies? I mean, most people do, so I feel like maybe they would too. But yeah, I thought it'd be really fun, especially for Malcolm. He's a teenager, obviously, so imagine the hangouts he would have in this house with all his friends. Like, they would have movie nights, probably weekly, with all his friends, hangouts before prom, after prom, you know, it would all take place in this house. They would have the most insane parties, I probably would think. And then they also have that gym, of course, with the indoor pool, but then they also have a giant outdoor lap pool that they can use for parties and hangouts. And I think I placed in total, I need to count for a second. I think I placed like 4 bars in this house in total. We have one in the entrance, which is this room that we're decorating right now. There's a bar in the entrance. I don't know why. There's also a giant piano, and there's another giant piano on the landing, actually. Don't know how they got it up there. I don't know how it ended up on the landing, no clue, but you know, this is The Sims, so we could literally do whatever we want. So I placed another grand piano on the 2nd floor. There's a bar in the entrance, there's a bar in the kitchen, there's a bar in the home cinema, and then there's a bar in the backyard. So that is a total of 4 bars in this house. You know, it's like I said, this house is great for parties. What can I tell you? I needed something to fill up the space. And this is only base game, so we don't really have that many like activities and things to do, but I felt like an insane amount of bars would be perfect for this house. It just would make a lot of sense. So that's what I ended up doing. And then here, as you can see, off of the hallway, off of the entrance, we have this giant archway. I was gonna close it off, but I really liked how the lighting was hitting the windows at the front of the house and how you could see the sunlight kind of going through, and it was so pretty. So I decided to leave it all open, especially since this floor plan is very open and airy in that sense already. So I just decided to leave it open and just have everything flow together a little bit more naturally in that sense. So when you walk through that archway from the hallway, you sort of enter straight into the living room. And this house, by the way, is by no means nearly as cluttered as I would normally make it, especially for these larger spaces. I was really trying to embrace sort of like the emptiness of the house, if that makes sense. I wanted everything to be very roomy. Of course, this house is very large, so that was not a difficult thing to do at all. But normally I would really go and try to go out of my way to like fill up everything and to make it look a little bit more lived in and a little bit more cozy in that sense, even though it is such a big space. For this one, I was really trying to embrace the fact that it's so roomy and that there's just not a lot of stuff and that there's a lot of space to walk around for routing and whatnot. But the items we do have are very luxurious and very modern and like have their own moment, if that makes sense. And then here, this was an area I struggled with, is the area underneath the staircase. I just decided to place this random globe that maybe they got or maybe they stole that from somewhere. I'm not exactly sure, but they have that random globe that's probably worth a lot of money. And then I also just put a couple of money bags under the stairs. I don't know. These people don't care. They just leave some money bags under the stairs. I felt like that was a land grab thing to do, so I just rolled with it. And then, yeah, to sort of still divide the space, I decided to go for a fireplace sort of in the middle of the space. So I built a makeshift sort of chimney to place it against, and then that divides the living room from the giant kitchen, and then there is a sunroom back here as well that I turn into the dining room space. So that's what we ended up doing, and obviously I had to go through and use these brand new base game counters. I felt like those were so perfect for this house. And to actually add a little bit of contrast in, I was going to use the fully white swatch of this, so the white counters with the white marble countertops, but I actually decided to go for the black marble countertops to add a little bit of, you know, just a little bit of contrast in this kitchen. I felt like it needed that. And then the kitchen felt so big and empty to me still that I didn't know what to do. And then I just decided to place an island. And then I got the idea to sort of build this like custom pillar in the middle of the island and built the island around it, if that makes sense. And it's nice. Like, I feel like it definitely fills up the space nicely. It doesn't necessarily divide the space, but it adds an extra element of interest to the space that I felt like it really needed. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing here. And then I did something weird with a few wall shelves, just sort of going around that pillar. I was gonna clutter them up, but it really didn't need the clutter. So I ended up just doing it this way just for decorative purposes, I guess. And I do feel like it looks really cool, especially with the black shelves. I don't know, I think it looks cool. And I found these wall lights in the base game that I am obsessed with. Those very modern, simple, rectangular wall lamps that are really pretty, and I've never seen those before. I feel like those were sort of recently added maybe, Maybe they were added with the most recent base game update where we actually got those counters. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe they've been in the game for years and I just haven't noticed, but they're really nice lights, especially for a more modern house like this one. They were absolutely perfect. So, because we don't have that many very contemporary modern things, I want to say, in the base game, the thing I was struggling with the most for this particular style of house was the art. The art was so tough. I don't know what it is in the base game, but we just simply do not have modern art in the game. We have like a couple of things and that's it. But we also just have a lot of very classical like pieces of art with really beautiful frames, like very intricate, nice, classical, traditional frames, you know, and that was not the vibe for this house. I feel like they would have those pieces of art, so I did end up using, I think, a couple of those, but I was more so looking for modern art, and we do have a few pieces, but really not that many. So I'm really hoping, now that they've been giving us more base game updates, especially with this kitchen, and then also the floor that we got, like the tiles for the wall and the tile floor and stuff, so pretty. I don't think I used any of those tiles in this house per se, but they're so good. I use them all the time. But now I'm just kind of like spoiled. I want more base game updates because yes, we now have those gorgeous counters, but now, oh yeah, one of the things I struggled with the most as well was curtains. We definitely need more base game curtains. I ended up using no curtains for the majority of this house, which I feel like doesn't really make that much sense. You would definitely probably have blinds in this house, particularly in the desert, even though they probably have like an incredible AC system in this house, you know, that probably works just fine, but you would definitely have some blinds. There's so many windows in this house. This entire area where I placed the dining table is just a gigantic sunroom. And then I continued the windows on the other wall as well, where we have a door going onto the back porch. It's just a giant sunroom in here. It's crazy. So you would probably have some blinds. And even though we do have some really nice basic blinds in the base game, it wasn't really working out for this house per se. So I ended up using no curtains. I did use curtains in the bedrooms, but I was using short wall height on the second floor and medium wall height on the ground floor. And medium wall height, just base game, makes it even more difficult to find curtains because we just barely have any. We barely have any that even like work size-wise. So, you know, that was tough. I also definitely, desperately want more base game beds. The base game beds are painful. I did manage to make them work. We did get a really cute new bed, a double bed and a matching single bed. With the recent Pride SDX drop, which is really good. I ended up using one of those beds, the double bed for one of the bedrooms, which was actually perfect. I really like that bed, but please, I want more just like basic, but elevated basic beds in the base game, please. That would be my literal dream. The same goes for art, like I said, the same goes for rugs, curtains, you know, those types of things, those types of everyday things. I just really want more of them and like just some updated items, some newer looking items in the base game because I'm so obsessed with the new counters. I just want this sort of upgrade for all the elements in the base game now, like the living room, the bedroom, the bathroom for that matter. So yeah, I'm really hoping and sort of hopeful as well that maybe that will happen at some point, since The Sims 4 is probably going to go for definitely a lot longer still. And also because they did give us that giant update back in February, that one that I just talked about. I'm hopeful that maybe, you know, maybe there'll be more in the future. I really, really hope so. But yeah, here you can see at the front of the house, we have this home cinema. And I really like how this one came out. I never do home cinemas. And I feel like it's just such a nice way to fill up the space if you have a gigantic house like this one. It is just so nice. So I ended up just creating I sized up a base game TV. We do have really nice like movie screens in the game, but not in base game. So I ended up just using a regular TV, one of the more expensive ones, and I sized it up and placed it against the wall, which looks a little silly because it's, you know, just a giant TV, but I feel like it's the best thing we have, the only thing I could do really with just base game, and I feel like it still works out. So yeah, naturally I just placed a bunch of love seats so people can hang out and watch the movies. I placed a bar in here so you can grab some drinks and some snacks. I could have done a fridge in here now that I'm thinking about it, but I don't think we have any mini fridges in the base game, aside from the one that I think came with a gameplay reward kind of thing that you could unlock that way. Maybe I'm going crazy and that's not even the case, but I think there is one in base game because of those rewards if you have played through them. But I was really trying to be careful to not use any items from the rewards, like the gameplay rewards, because I know that not everybody has those. And if you haven't unlocked them, I think they will delete themselves when you actually download houses off of the gallery that do use them. I think they'll get yeeted when you place it in your own game, unless you have actually unlocked those gameplay rewards yourself, which I think is a little bit annoying. So I was really trying to go out of my way to not use them so that the house wouldn't like be missing any clutter or any like items that I was using. So I tried to be careful and not use those. I may have missed a few, but I didn't even use my favorite like throw pillows and things that I use all the time. So maybe I did do a good job. I'm not actually sure. But we have moved on to the second floor here. As you can see, I really like the like open staircase that I created. I think that one is so cool. I placed some of those new base game hanging lights as well that I think are so pretty, sort of like in the open like area. I think that looked really cool. And then here we have a landing that is gigantic. This landing, again, has no business being this gigantic. And I was struggling a little bit with how to fill it up. But again, I was just trying to sort of embrace the roominess, the spaciousness of it all, and trying to like really not feel the urge to really decorate it like completely fully to the brim, you know what I mean? So I was just trying to keep it a little bit more spacious this way. But I did end up placing a bunch of bookcases, so I guess you could say I turned it into sort of a library kind of thing. It makes the space nice and functional, to be honest. So yeah, we have a nice library on the landing with a couple of love seats and obviously a bunch of bookcases. And then on the other side, I also placed a nice 3-seater couch. There's a lot of like sort of like hidden little hangout spots. Also, we have a bunch of balconies where I placed a bunch of tables and chairs and love seats and whatnot. So there's a lot of little areas throughout this house and on the balconies to sort of hang out, which I think is really cute. And then the first bedroom that I decorated is the main bedroom over here. And I was really trying to go for lighter wood tones in here, lots of beige, softer colors. I do feel like maybe that would be a Nancy thing to do, to have those like sand colors, like sandy beach tones in the bedroom, and then I combine it with some light blue as well, which I think is nice. So yeah, this bedroom I was struggling with a little bit as well because I don't know, it was just tough for me to decorate. I do like the wall piece, or like the platform thing that I place in the middle where I place the bed like up against it. I think that looks really pretty and it nicely divides the space again. Sort of like the same trick I did downstairs with the fireplace as well. And I was going to do a fireplace in here as well, but then I decided that it would be the perfect spot to sort of place the bed in the middle of the room, and it looks over the nice balcony. Obviously, I placed some curtains, but in real life, you would probably be able to open those curtains and then you could still look outside. So that's kind of what I was trying to do here. And yeah, so that's what I ended up doing. And then here, I actually decided to place another wall off of that section where I, divided the space. So I placed another wall to sort of close off this area a little bit more. And now this is a nice sort of like a walk-in wardrobe kind of area that then leads you into the ensuite bathroom. And I thought that was a really smart way to go about this room. I feel like it really divides the space nicely. How many times can I say that? But you know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like it really worked out in here. So I just placed a bunch of wardrobes. That, by the way, is another thing that we really need updates for in the base game is wardrobes and dressers. Oh my God, please. We need more. We need more just basic tall wardrobes. Really, please. I'm literally begging you. But yeah, that's what I ended up doing in here. And then here next to the bed, I just ended up placing another hangout area, like a lounge set in here that ended up looking really pretty, and it's not too complicated or overly cluttered or anything, but I think it looks really cool. And then for the upstairs bathrooms, I actually decorated all of those off camera because otherwise the video would have been so, like, it would have been even longer. It's already crazy long, but it would have been even longer. And, bathrooms are just bathrooms. They're not that intricate or interesting in this house at all. I'll obviously show them at the end of the video when we do a little tour of the place, which is sort of coming up already because we are close to being done actually. So out front here we have this really cool room that has a full wall of floor to ceiling windows, and I thought that was perfect for an office, and I turned it into a shared office because it was big enough for that. And so yeah, I thought that would look a little bit more luxurious anyway. So I placed a couple of desks in there with some expensive computers, and then we have another TV in there, and it's just a nice office, like a home office workspace kind of thing. So that's what I ended up doing. And then the second bedroom that we're decorating is the teenager Malcolm Landgraab's bedroom. I don't know why I said it like that. It's Malcolm Landgraab's bedroom. He's a teenager and he is essentially just like his parents. I did check his traits before I decorated his room, but he is essentially just Nancy Landgraab. He is mean. I'm not exactly remembering his traits, but he's not a nice person. He's very much, I imagine him to be very materialistic, and that's sort of what I was trying to like sort of show here in the bedroom. I think he would be really spoiled as well. He would have the most expensive gaming computer, so I placed that in here. He also has a TV in his bedroom. He has a walk-in wardrobe, sort of. It's kind of small, but it is nice. And then he also obviously has an ensuite because all the bedrooms have ensuites in this house. And I tried to make his room very blue, as you can see. And I always kind of struggle with teenager bedrooms when I just have the base game to work with. I always find it a little tough. But I think this one actually turned out really nice. He does have a nice double bed. I just placed a few posters and some nice decorative items in here that I felt like would reflect or would work nicely in a teenager's bedroom. So that's what I tried to do here. He has sort of like a walk-in wardrobe here, as you can see. And yeah, I really like his desk. I just merged a couple of desks together to sort of make this corner desk. It's not perfect, but I really do like how it looks. And then especially with that, little half wall to sort of divide the space here, I just think that works out nicely in here. And the colors are nice, like black and like a darker grayish blue. I feel like that just really resonates with Malcolm in my brain. I could be wrong, but that's just how it works in my brain. And then here we have the third bedroom, which I decorated to be an extra bedroom. I really like the colors in here. Again, it's very Nancy Landgraab, where I thought she would really be into the sand beige types of colors. So that's what I did in here, and then I combined it with black for the most part, and also some blue, like some teal blue. I thought that would be a nice color to break up the space. So that's what I ended up doing in here. I think it looks really cool. It's a very simple bedroom though, because it's just a guest bedroom, even though it's really nice. So I didn't really go too crazy with clutter in this one, but I didn't do that for the house, like for the entire house really. There's no crazy amount of clutter. It's not overwhelming at all. I feel like it would run pretty well, this house, on maybe lower end computers and laptops as well, even though it's huge. I really tried to keep an eye on the amount of items I used somewhat, so, it would still sort of run smoothly on other computers as well. And it's just base game, so I feel like that already helps. So here, Malcolm actually has a balcony off of his bedroom where he can hang out. So I just placed a little love seat over there and a small chair, and then that's it. And then on this gigantic balcony out back that actually has a door into the main bedroom, but also off of the landing, I placed a couple of skill building items. I thought that would be nice to have, so I just put a chess table and an easel as well. And then I just placed a bunch of, or actually just a couple of loungers, because this is the perfect spot for sunbathing, if you ask me. I feel like that would be absolutely perfect out here. So that's what I ended up placing. And then I also did a nice dining table where Sims can just hang out, maybe have some dinner. You could even place a grill or something on this area. I feel like that would be a nice thing to do as well. But then Sims would just be grilling all the time. That's just what happens though. I did end up placing a grill in the backyard. So out here in the backyard, I obviously had to do a hot tub. So we have the nice base game. Was it the 20th birthday hot tub? I don't remember. I don't actually remember when we got that hot tub, but we got it a few years ago. And she's a bit of a meme. She's a little bit of a meme because we were expecting something really huge to like come to The Sims 4, and then they got us a hot tub. Which, you know, I will say I'm not complaining. I'm happy that we have this now, especially for these types of base game builds where you really can't go without a hot tub, I feel. So yeah, I'm actually really happy that we have it. So I placed it here in the corner of the backyard as well. And then here I just created another makeshift planter because I was definitely feeling like we were missing some more trees and just some flowers and stuff in general. So I ended up placing that here, and then that was the perfect spot to put a few loungers just like next to each other in a row by the pool. Unfortunately, in the base game, we don't have any floaties or anything, so the pool is just empty, but I feel like that's okay. And then I also ended up placing a nice bar here, the fourth and final bar in this house, because you would probably throw some really cool backyard parties here as well. So yeah, I did that. We have a grill. We also have a nice 8-seater dining table out here for those parties that I was just talking about that they would probably throw. And yeah, so I put a little rug, just a couple of plants. I thought it'd be nice. It's kind of ruining the vibes, but I thought it'd be nice to place a outdoor bin. We also have an outdoor bin out front, but that's very far away from the kitchen. So I felt like it'd be nice to have, gameplay wise, to have a bin here in the backyard as well. But then that's it for this house actually. So let's jump into the game and I'll show you the house in real time. So here we have the Landgraab mansion in the game. This is a random save file where I just have Nancy and she's an elderly sim. I don't know when and how that happened, but this is the facade of the house, and I feel like the curb appeal for this one is immaculate. It's so nice. I love the white wallpaper. It's just so sleek and pretty looking. And then we have some of those green stone accents. I just think it looks really fun. Out here, by the way, is where I placed the mailbox as well as a trash can, so sort of hidden back here against the wall. And then I really like these little fountains. Look how cute they are. And then, of course, we have the backyard. You can only enter that when you go through the house, so there's no like side entrance or anything. Just a completely closed off and private backyard. We have this really nice terrace area, I guess, where we have seating and loungers, a bar, a hot tub. I also placed a few planters. I don't think anyone in this household would be particularly into gardening, but I thought it'd be nice to have them anyway. And then over here, of course, we have the pool that looks into the gym, like into the indoor pool. I thought that was nice. And then, of course, we have the inside of the house, which is very white and green for the most part. So over here, we have the front door, and this is just a very simple entrance, but then over on this side we have a nice grand piano. There is a bar. You know, guests can just like quickly grab a drink when they first come into the house. They'll be welcomed with some nectar, you know. And then over here is the living room. I really like this fireplace divider moment. I feel like that really helps in this space. For the rest, it's very simple, just very white furniture. I placed a bunch of these base game coffee tables together and turned it into sort of like a more round shape. It's not perfect, but I do feel like this way it looks like an odd modern like designer piece, and that fits the house. In the back here, I filled up the space nicely with a little planter, a nice indoor planter. I thought that was a cool thing, like a cool feature for this house. And then we obviously just have the staircase, a bunch of money bags. On this side of the house is the kitchen and dining, and I really like how this came together, especially with this island. The lighting is a little wonky in here, but I guess that just happens when you use platforms. So we have this really nice island that I turned into a coffee and tea nook with a bunch of freshly baked goodies. There is a bar, of course, on this side as well, and we just have the kitchen with regular kitchen stuff. It's definitely not too cluttered. I definitely tried to keep an eye on that. I really tried to keep it simple. There is a couple of fridges over here, a dishwasher, and just some appliances and whatnot, and then a couple of sinks here in the island. And then in this sunroom section is where we have the dining room. I placed some gold bars, you know, just as a casual little decoration on the table here. I also really like this couch, a nice after dinner hangout spot. And off of the kitchen, or like sort of in the middle space here, is a door into a hall bathroom. I was gonna do just a half bathroom, but then it was so big that I just decided to put a tub in. So yeah, there's a tub in here. Then over here is a small hallway that is sort of empty, but I just put some art in it, which leads you into the indoor pool and gym over on this side. side. That's so cool though, to like be swimming in this indoor pool and you can kind of look out over the outdoor pool. I don't know why you would be swimming indoors when you can be outdoors, but I guess maybe sometimes the weather isn't as nice in the desert. And then we just have some gym equipment here, and there is a Jack and Jill bathroom over on this side that you also have access from the home theater. So that's over here. We just have this giant TV and then a bunch of seating. I placed all these movie posters. I thought that was so cool. I think I used all of them in here. And then back here we have some game tables, there's music, and of course a bar as well. Then upstairs there's this giant landing that is sort of empty, but we do have a nice library here. So that's what we have going on. There's another grand piano for no reason at all. And then over on this side is Nancy and Jeffrey's bedroom. I really like this main bedroom, even though it feels sort of empty, but it does really flow nicely with the rest of the house, I want to say. So they have a little bit of storage here, and then their bed obviously over here. I thought this was like a cool magazine cover with Nancy on the cover. You know, Nancy when she was a little younger still. There's some seating in the back here, and then I created a makeshift vanity over here, and then there's a hallway into sort of like a walk-in wardrobe kind of thing. And then they have their ensuite over here, which is kind of humongous. So I did a nice double sink moment here, and then we have a corner tub, a shower. It's really nice and luxurious. Next to the main bedroom, we have the office. Love this office. These windows are just so gorgeous over here, and the way the lighting is hitting it, it's just really pretty. So yeah, there's another TV in here, some bookcases. On the other side is where we have the other two bedrooms. So this is going to be Malcolm's bedroom. It's nice and blue. It definitely has some more like teen vibes going on, I want to say. That's what I tried to make it look like anyway. He has a nice chair to hang out. He has a TV, and then he has a desk set up here with a nice gaming PC. I feel like maybe he would be into video games. I also gave him a guitar as a nice skill building item, and then he has his wardrobes in here. And then he also has an ensuite bathroom, which that must be nice, you know. And then across the hall is going to be the extra bedroom, which in the past used to be Johnny Zest's bedroom, but all evidence has been destroyed. He was never here. So this is now a really nice, newly decorated extra bedroom. I really like the touch of teal in here. I think that really adds something. The only piece of evidence that I left of Johnny Zest existing in this house is this microphone. I thought that would be nice. And then there's an ensuite over here as well, which is a little smaller, but still really nice. There's a side balcony where I just placed a nice table, and then Malcolm of course has his balcony over here, and then there's a larger balcony over here with some loungers and a couple of skill building items. But that is actually it for this house. So this brand new Landgraab mansion is up on the gallery. I just uploaded it. I built it on a 50 by 50 in the world of Oasis Springs on the actual original Landgraab mansion lot. So that's where I built it. It is very expensive, just over 375,000 simoleons. Crazy. It has 3 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms in total, if I counted correctly. And most importantly, it uses no packs, just base game. So yeah, you can download it off the gallery if you want to. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed this one. You can obviously go ahead and download this build off the gallery. Like I just showed you, my username on the gallery is Simmery Sims. You can follow me on Instagram if you'd like. My username on there is Simmery Sims as well. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, feel free to do so. And if you'd like to get notified every single time I upload a video, just click that little bell icon. I also live stream over on Twitch a few times a week. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and give me a follow over on twitch.tv/Simmery Sims. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!